Hello everyone, this is the CRT Productions here, and this is the Panasonic LUMIX FZ80, a $300 18 megapixel 4K camera. Let's take a look at it. Alright, so obviously I'm not going to be able to keep up that energy for the entire video, but let's take a quick overview of the camera and give you some basic specifications for it. The Panasonic LUMIX FZ80 has an 18.1 megapixel sensor, giving it an effective resolution of 4896 by 3672, and it includes an 895 milliamp battery pack. This camera is capable of recording 1080p HD video in 60 frames per second and 4K 2160p at 30 frames per second, as well as slow motion video capture at 1280 by 720 at 120 frames per second and 640 by 480 at 240 frames per second. So there's a few basic things about the camera you probably already knew. Now let's get into what I think about the camera after owning it for several months now. So I purchased this camera mostly for its video recording capabilities and long zoom. If you're more interested in its photo capabilities, I'll leave a link in the description to some photos I took in different lighting conditions so you can get an idea of how it performs in low light and how the flash works. Although in this review I'm going to mostly focus on the video recording capabilities, I do want to throw in a few little things about its photo taking capabilities. All digital cameras nowadays are going to have great automatic functions built into them. This camera is no exception. It has pretty good automatic functionalities such as autofocus and such. And it does offer a wide variety of manual controls such as manual focus, which is something you'll want to turn on if you're going to do a lot of video recording with this. And as far as the flash is concerned, it's not too spectacular. It's kind of a small, weak flash, but it'll take care of most of your indoor shooting needs. As far as shooting stills is concerned, they're okay. They're a little bit grainy. It's about what you'd expect from a digital camera. And this camera does offer something interesting, which is shooting in RAW format, which means it can record photos uncompressed directly to your SD card. I'm sure someone out there has some use for this, but the average consumer is not going to use that feature. It takes pretty decent pictures from the factory. And what I really want to get into is its video recording capabilities, which I will talk about now. The 1080p 60 frames per second mode is really great. That's my favorite setting. The 4K looks great, but the thing that really surprised me when I got this camera was its image stabilization. I want to show you a clip right now that I took with this camera of an airplane flying really high in the sky. And I want to point out that I use no tripod, no stabilization of any kind. This is a raw video straight from this camera, just me holding it, pointing it at the sky. Take a look at this. Now I may have a little bit of experience recording with no tripod, but come on, my hand's not that steady. That image stabilization was doing some work. That's impressive. I was also impressed to see that this camera offers 4 different modes of image stabilization. It has one where it's completely off, of course. It has a separate setting for vertical and horizontal shake, as well as both of those. And one of the key selling points of this camera is its 60 times optical zoom. Very impressive. I'm going to show you a video right now demonstrating that. Alright, here's a zoom test of the Panasonic LUMIX FZ80 with zoom microphone. Here's a zoom test with the zoom microphone off. Now I'm sure you noticed there's a lot of noise coming from that lens when you're zooming in and out, and it also zooms really slowly. That can be pretty annoying when you're making videos where you zoom in and out a lot. Another thing I touched on earlier is you'll want to turn on your manual focus in the settings and get that focus right before you start recording your videos. Of course, that'll keep it from going in and out of focus all the time, which this camera does pretty bad when it's in automatic focus, depending on what you're shooting. So as far as this camera's 4K recording capabilities are concerned, I have another link in the description to a video I took, and that'll be uploaded raw without any editing so you can see exactly how the 4K videos look taken with this camera. Now, something that Panasonic advertises pretty prominently on the Amazon page for this and everywhere else, including the box, is the 4K burst photo mode. Now, all this is a weird gimmicky little feature that they've added onto this camera where it records a 4K video and it gives you the option to select a specific frame from that video and save it as an image. Now, that's kind of arbitrary considering it can record in 4K. You can just record your video in 4K, and when you get it on the computer you can select however many frames of it you want to take a screenshot of. It's kind of a strange little feature they've added on there, but I'll give them A for effort. Something else I was pleasantly surprised with this camera about was its slow motion video capture capabilities. It can record in 1280 by 720 at 120 frames per second or at 640 by 480 at 240 frames per second. That gives you a nice smooth slow motion video. I'll show you some clips I took demonstrating that right now. First the 120 frames per second clip, then the 240 frames per second clip. Now, I'll admit that wasn't the greatest subject matter to test that on, but I couldn't really think of anything else. But you can see it's actually pretty good. The HD 120 frames per second mode is pretty cool, and the 240 frames per second standard definition one, it could be fun to play around with, but you probably wouldn't use it for many things other than just playing around with. Now, sort of a bittersweet point about this camera, the built-in microphone. You've probably noticed from the few videos you've seen in this video so far, is fairly good. But don't let the bracket on top fool you. This does not have an external microphone input. So you cannot plug in an external microphone to this camera. This would be more useful for a large LED light panel or some other thing that you have to attach to your camera. Now, another big downside to this camera, right here, the LCD screen is fixed. So you can't flip it out, turn it around like a lot of other comparable cameras to this one. Now, it does have your viewfinder here, which is great for really bright conditions when you're out shooting outside. And I like that, and it works pretty well. It has a little thing here you can focus it as well. The bottom line with this camera is, for the price you pay, $300, you're not going to find another camera that has these specifications for that amount of money. 60 times optical zoom and 4K video, not many cameras can say that at all, especially not at this price point. Now, as far as what this camera comes with in the box, it comes with a little lens cover, which doesn't really stay on there very well. You have to really be very specific on how you put it on there, and it's really easy to come off. It's more of a dust cover than a lens protector or whatever. It also comes with a really short power cord. Yeah, another big point I'd like to make for you video takers out there, this is a USB power cable. You cannot run this directly off power. It has to run off of a battery. So you're not going to be doing a lot of long video recordings with this camera. Now, that brings up another big point. The battery. How's the battery life? Well, this battery is 895 milliamps like I mentioned before. It really doesn't last all that long. You're probably going to get a couple hours of use out of this per charge, and it takes a pretty good while to charge up as well, so I recommend getting some extra batteries. Never cheap out on your batteries or your SD cards. Get the SanDisk SD card, and don't get the cheapest battery that's available online. Get the best one with the best reviews that you can afford. You don't have to get the ridiculously priced manufacturer's batteries. Overall, I think the camera is really well designed. It has a really nice grip. It feels nice to hold. It has a good amount of weight to it, not too heavy. And the buttons are well laid out, in my opinion. And the touchscreen LCD also works pretty good. So overall, like I've said, you're not going to find another camera capable of what this one is for the price that this one costs. My bottom line opinion for this camera, you're probably going to get this to record videos mainly, and also take the occasional picture. It takes fairly good pictures, but it also takes really good videos. And it's going to beat any camcorder that's out there on the market right now. So I've told you about the few pet peevish things I have about this camera, such as the loud zoom lens and the lack of advanced features such as a external microphone input. But at the end of the day, it's $300. You can't beat that. So I hope this review helped you decide whether or not to buy this camera. If you have any more comments or any questions about the camera, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. I have more reviews and funny videos planned for the future. And have a nice day. Thanks for watching.